Here's why it's so important to surrender when manifesting. When I say surrender, I mean let go of the how and also let go of any past events that have taken place. From those basic algebra classes, we understand that we exist on all three dimensions, right? The first dimension is like a point, the second dimension is a line drawn, and the third dimension is all of the physical objects, the 3D objects that we can hold and manipulate and all of that. We, in order to exist, have to exist on the first and second dimensions as well as the third. We exist on all three at the same time. So to explain that another way, we exist and we consist of a bunch of points, which are the first dimension, and lines in the 2 dimension, and then those spread out if you add the z-axis to our 3-dimensional self. So we are made up of all 3 dimensions. So what we know that there are absolutely more than 3 dimensions. There's at least the time-space dimension, which is the 4th dimension. And then we've been able to conceptualize and find evidence of dimensions beyond the 4th, 5th, 6th, all the way up to the 9th and 10th dimensions. So if we know we exist on the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th dimensions, couldn't we understand that we also exist on the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th dimensions? So essentially, our whole self exists on all 9 dimensions. This 3rd dimensional part of ourselves is just one way to perceive us, for lack of a better explanation. So our whole self isn't complete unless we include the parts of us that exist on all 9, 10 dimensions and beyond. But as part of this experience, we choose to forget the parts of us that exist on these higher dimensions, because in those higher dimensions we are much more easily able to manipulate what's happening in the 3rd dimension, and we kind of remove the ability to have certain experiences. I could do a whole video on why it's important for us to forget, but it's all part of our purpose, which is to allow the collective consciousness to experience itself. All of that is important because on the 3rd dimension, we have a very limited ability to understand all that exists in reality, including all possibilities in the past and all possibilities in the future, which all already exist at once. If you want to understand what time really is, check out my YouTube channel. I should have a video posted in a few days to explain that in greater detail. Okay, so bringing it back to trying to manifest what you desire. Your consciousness is currently, for whatever purpose it's set out for, in the 3rd dimension. Your awareness is in the 3rd and 4th dimension, right? So your main purpose for your conscious awareness is to observe what's happening in the present moment and to gather information about what you want to experience going forward. What your conscious awareness cannot do is help you understand all the ways in which you can make that happen. But the part of you that exists in the higher dimensions, the part of you that is outside of time space, meaning just like we are 4th dimensional, right? And we can manipulate 3D objects. I can pick up this phone next to me and move it around. Well, the parts of us that exist in the higher dimensions can do a similar thing with timelines, with all possibilities, with all the things that exist in time space. So for the part of you that is in the higher dimensions, timelines and potential outcomes already all exist, and it can see all of them just as easily as we can see all the 3D objects around us. When you observe your current environment, you experience something and you decide you want to experience something else, and your higher self gets that message. If you then put constraints on how it's supposed to happen, meaning you say, well, it has to be this particular 3D configuration or it has to happen this way, then your higher self responds to that by limiting the possibilities. The higher self doesn't discriminate. It doesn't have as much emotionally invested in these outcomes, so it just responds to whatever you give it. So if you decide you want to experience something else and you just define what you want that experience to feel like, and then you leave it open and you don't put any constraints, you don't say it has to happen in this particular way, your higher self then has access to more past and future timelines. So then you just get to say, I want this, and you express with your emotions and your thoughts and beliefs what that desire is, and then your higher self helps you by leading you with your own excitement. So you get to just decide you want certain experiences and then do what excites you. And you don't have to worry about figuring out which specific way in the 3D it needs to happen. Your higher self has access to all that. It has a better viewpoint, even of the present moment, because we can't see everything in our present either. We can only see what our avatar allows us to see. But if we just leave it to the higher self to give us those little dangling carrots of excitement, then things happen in ways that we could never have imagined. Our higher selves can choose from a past timeline and a future timeline and all that's available in the present, combine those and create the feeling that we want to experience. Now, don't get me wrong, manifestation can work either way. You can decide you want it to be happen in a very specific way, and then your higher self will work with what's available. Or you can leave it up to the part of you that exists in the higher dimensions and has a better viewpoint, a better vantage point of what's available, and you can let it delight and surprise you. It's totally up to you. You can even switch back and forth if you want. I know I do. So I know that was a lot, and I hope it made sense, but this is why surrendering and just doing what you're drawn to and what excites you is the optimal way to live in this experience.